Hello, Thrive Loud listeners. At Thrive Loud, we are always connecting you, the listener, with amazing leaders that are thriving in their lives, their businesses, and their passions. We also have had hundreds of thriving women that have been featured on this podcast. Continuing this important effort, Thrive Loud with Lou Diamond, Success.com, and Clubhouse have joined together to create a special series called Elevating the Brilliant Minds of Women. You'll get a chance to learn about these incredible initiatives of women across the globe, hear about how they are thriving, and how you can connect with them today. Enjoy this amazing conversation, and after the episode, learn more about this powerful initiative.
So the combination is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5? That's the stupidest combination I've heard in my life. That's the kind of thing Lou Diamond would have on his luggage.
It's time to take an inside look at those that are taking their lives, their businesses, and their passions to the next level. Get ready to thrive loud with Lou Diamond.
Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Thrive Loud with Lou Diamond. Connecting you to the most inspiring and amazing people that are thriving each and every day. I am your host, Lou Diamond. Today on Thrive Loud, we have an educator, speaker, and podcaster. She loves connecting with others, inspiring them to be courageous in their lives. She's the host of the Courage Up podcast. Love that name, by the way. Part of our continuing series of elevating the brilliant minds of women. Thrive Loud listeners, Ming Shelby. Ming, how are you today?
I'm doing very well. Thank you so much for having me today, Lou.
So Ming, first of all, you've got like the greatest smile. Our listeners will see it on your podcast art here because you just got this like energy about you that's just awesome.
Thank you.
And you do some really great things. What I want the listeners to kind of learn is what those things are. So if you could, I want to do a little rewind, go back a little bit before you were doing the thing you're doing right now and kind of help the listeners connect how what you're doing now became the gig you're doing now.
Oh, this is such a great question, Lou. So if I take you back to 2018, we all have a word of the year, right? And my word of the year, my word of the year starts.
No, I was thinking, the listeners need to know, I literally was looking up what was my year. I did have a word for 2018. I was trying to remember what my word was for 2018. I'll share that later.
Oh, okay. I can't wait to hear.
So what was yours?
My year starts in August because, like you said, I'm an educator. So our start of the year is August, not January. And that year I chose courage as my word of the year. And there was things happening in my organization that I just didn't feel completely aligned with, that I didn't feel like I was showing up as my true self in situations. So I was like, I'm going to be courageous and bold. And that started my journey. And I started training teachers on how to build courage in the classroom, because what I was noticing as I was walking classroom, kids were being scared to raise their hand to speak, or they were scared to, share a new idea. And I was like, these are our kids that we get to mold and connect, and school is a sandbox where they get to try and fail and just be wildly courageous. Like, we should be promoting that and allowing that to take place. So as I was going on this journey and bringing all the educators with me, I was bringing the kids along with the ride. I'm like, hey, everyone's word of the year is going to be courage this year. And so from that, I started talking more about courage. I had my first talk called Courage in the Classroom, which TED Ed graciously promoted on their YouTube channel. And then this last year, I had a TEDx called Build a Herd, HEARD mentality, all about how every kid deserves to be heard. And it's true for adults, right? Like, in my 14, 15 years of experience with education as a teacher, a mentor, a coach, a director, I learned that kids just want to be heard. And if we talk to adults, I think that's true too. And you're an excellent listener, Lou, with all the episodes that you've done. So you know how essential of a skill that is. So that's kind of the journey of where I went to get to where I am today.
I want to double click on this a little, because I'm actually trying to figure this out. And maybe I have an external, very outgoing, extroverted personality. What is it that you think? Do you think it's more, there are more kids that weren't wanting to raise their hand and speak out and be heard? Do you think that that was a growing thing of not wanting to be heard as a student? Has that increased? Why do you think that is?
Think about when kids are babies and toddlers. And I have 4-year-old twin boys, and all they do is ask questions all day long.
Right.
Like, why is this here? What happens to the clouds? Why is there steam when the water is boiling? They're just, minds are constantly curious. And then when they start school, we kind of put them in this box of how do you interact when you're around other people? And so an example of what I saw was a student was going up to the teacher to ask a question. The teacher was in the middle of something else. The student started to talk, and the teacher put a hand up and stopped the student mid-sentence and said, "You'll wait for me to call on you." And that was the interaction that was expected. And so if I'm a student and I have this hand that's put up to my face frequently of wait for me to be called, over time, I'm like, oh, wait, maybe this isn't the time for me to share. Maybe I have to wait to be called on in order to use my voice.
Okay. So that you get a little bit of, you're told no or stop or you can't, and a hurdle or a wall has been put up, and either for decorum or process or keeping things flowing. I do get, the teacher's trying to control the classroom. And there's a fine balance between keeping things structured and also having the ability to keep it open. So as an educator, how do you balance the two together? How do you keep people from being heard and standing up and, facing their courage and being brave and speaking out, but also maintaining a little bit semblance of organization and structure so it doesn't become a free-for-all? How do you do that?
That is a great question, Lou. So when we go to school as educators, we're taught these traditional classroom management strategies where everyone is lumped together. Like you move together, you think together, you act together. And of course, like you said, there's certain structures that we have to kind of abide. So it's not like this free for all, everyone's rolling all over the floor. And then there's time where we can offer students voice and choice. So for example, have you walked into an art room and you notice that they're doing a pointillism project, right? They're studying, and then everyone's art looks the exact same. Everyone's focusing on a sunset scenery. Well, this is where we can allow some courage to happen, where it doesn't matter what scenery it is or what type of animal or whatever, but we're using the skill and applying it in how it works for us, right? Yeah. So within the constraints of here are the standards that I need to teach you to make you become a successful contributing citizen to the world. And then how does this fit into what you think what it can look like? How does this fit into your world type of a situation? Does that bring more clarity, Lou?
Yeah. And now I want to understand a little bit of the how you're doing it, because you are educating educators, as you had said. Share a little bit about where you sit in this fiefdom of helping teachers become better listeners.
Yeah. So what I love is leading trainings and speaking to teachers and just connecting with them on that level and talking about what's real in our classrooms, right? Like it's a reality that some of our classrooms have 28, 30 kids in, and if everyone has choice and voice, it can get a little bit crazy. So what can it look like? What's the first thing that you can do? And usually what I talk to teachers about is, when is the last time you asked students for feedback? So when I was a classroom teacher, I was a brand new teacher. I was teaching about measurement, and I was like, oh, I don't know if I got it quite right. So I asked the kids, I was like, okay, tell me what you got out of the lesson. Did you like it when we used these cubes with this? Did you like it when we used our feet? What part of this measurement activity? And I shared with a coworker, she's like, you asked the kids what they thought? And I'm like, well, yeah, like who else to better ask than the people I'm supposedly serving? And I think as teachers, we are so set, like we have our lesson plan ready to go, we have our materials, and it's all good. And we forget about the humans that are in front of us. What works for them? What could we alter to make our instruction even better? And that puts teachers in a super vulnerable spot saying, hey, what worked for you and what didn't? And I think the kids really admire that. And we're teaching them too, like, hey, you can do this with your friends too. And you can do this in situations as you get older, as you enter the workforce. So the first thing that I always talk about is asking feedback from your students.
I like it. The interactiveness and hearing a two-way street and asking great questions. I got to ask this question because I'm fascinated by this. Okay.
Yes, Lou.
So we just left and are in the midst. We're recording this in early March 2021. What has to be one of the most challenging teaching environments we've ever faced. We're going back 100 some odd years of the education system that we're in. From the quick, what are we going to do when the pandemic hit a year ago and try to figure out how to move an in-person curriculum to a virtual one. And then to start online across the country where literally state by state, city by city, town by town, it's different with so many rules in a very challenging environment. Oh, all by the way, trying to make sure that kids learn. From your seat and the way that you've been dealing with, how have you adapted, one, making sure that people maintain their courage in the environment they've had to learn in this environment, and two, that herd mentality that you deployed in the classroom when it all of a sudden got moved virtually?
Lou, I think that no one could have predicted what education could look like, right? I mean, we used to have snow days where snow was a welcomed event because that means you got to play in the snow all day. And now snow days equal remote learning because I'm not going to go as far as saying mastered. We've gotten better at doing something. And I don't know a single educator that would say that remote learning, hybrid learning, concurrent learning, whatever word you want to use is awesome because it's that in-person interaction, right? Do I know people who have been awesome at teaching remote learning and making the best out of it? For sure. Absolutely. But if we were to ask, would you want your kids in person? 100%, right?
Yeah. And I would echo that both parents, administrators, unions, and kids would also agree that everyone wants to be in the classroom. If there was one thing that this experiment has shown us is how much we crave that. So I totally get it. But let's dive into how you're able to deploy what you do in this world that we're in.
So courage online looks a little bit different, right? Because one of the things that we heard over and over again was that kids were turning off their screens. It was just teachers were teaching with black screens all day long. And
no matter what the grade level was?
Yeah, it was across the board. Elementary kids are a little bit more compliant and they usually have a sitter, a parent next to them was like, turn your screen on, right? They can do that a little bit more. And so as a teacher, that's exhausting to talk to yourself all day long. And courage to me looks like a teacher saying, hey, I know it's really hard to turn your screen on and maybe you don't want to see your bedhead or you're not like up to par of what you look like. But for me to connect with you and really get to know you as a student, as a human in this, it'd be really helpful for you to turn the screen on. And if that doesn't work for you, please reach out and let me know what's going on. How can I support you? And it's back to that vulnerability, Lou, right? Like we have to be so honest with each other because we're experiencing totally new waters. There was there was research that went out that said most kids, junior high and above, were turning off their screens because they didn't like the way they looked. They despised themselves so much that to have the screen on was so distracting to learning. So they just blocked everything out.
I heard something else too. This is interesting. And this goes even to the higher education levels.
Yeah.
That it almost looked like a brown nosing situation if you were the very few students that actually put themselves on camera. This was going, by the way, not only in high school, but this was going to the college kids who were learning this way. Like that actual pressure was, oh my God, I'm going to put myself on screen. People are going to think, excuse my language, that I was a kiss ass. That literally was where it went, as opposed to, oh, I'm just going to be cool like the other people. I'm not going to show my face. I'm going to be doing whatever it is I'm doing. You think
that is interesting.
Right.
I hadn't heard that yet, but I believe it. And peer pressure is real, right?
Yeah.
I remember being a teenager and, oh, if everyone's saying this, then I better not. But like I said, if the teacher just steps off of that teacher role and steps into a human role and say, this is what really helps. Like, can we all commit to doing this together? Let's go for it. And then courage also looks like when kids aren't showing up, when kids aren't turning in their assignment. Okay, let's be real. They're at home. It's so much easier to just lay on the couch than to open up my computer, log in, and just make that human connection of, hey, what's going on? How can I support you? Not like, I noticed you weren't at class today. You have this many missing assignments, but tell me what's going on. Tell me one new thing that's happened with you since the last time I saw you. And people always appreciate a human connection over task-oriented situations.
I like this. And Ming, what I also like is that you've taken both sides, both directions of where courage can exist and where this herd mentality and your voice, your choice for the voice. Did I say that right?
Yeah, you got it. You got it, Lou.
There's two directions. One is obviously from the educator themselves and being able to put it downstream to the students, and also for the students to raise up and maybe demonstrate some of that courage to stand up and do that. So I love it. You're all about that. You've got a podcast called Courage Up. Share with the listeners what that show is about and what is covered on that program.
So the Courage Up podcast was born out of my year of courage, where I was hearing other people's stories of courage. I was considering, do I leave the profession? What do I do? Can this be done? And what really helped me was hearing other people's stories of courage to say, hey, look, this person did it. I can too, or this is a strategy this person used. So Courage Up is really in that moment where you're thinking like, can I or can't I? And I just have this mantra where I say to myself, courage up, and then take that first action step. So really moving people from that uncomfortable position to moving towards courage, taking risks, living boldly, pursuing our dreams, and just going for it, Lou.
So you're doing that yourself. Talk about that, right? Because you yourself are taking on those type of moves for your own career and whatnot. Maybe share with the listeners what you were doing. And okay, you're talking about the program you've set up, but now how are you putting it into action?
So with the podcast, okay, Lou, let's just back it up. There's been so many Courage Up moments. One is I left an organization where I worked for 14 years. I knew almost all 5,000 employees that worked in there. I had great connections, but I knew there was more for me out there. Starting the Courage Up podcast, putting my voice out there. I don't know what it was like for you when you decide, all right, I'm going to start Thrive Loud. You're like, okay, is this something that I'm doing or not? Talking about courage in the classroom, it's huge. And then I'm like, oh, am I the person that should be talking about this? Can I be talking about it? And then
little
it's like,
imposter syndrome injecting in there.
Yes, exactly. And then it's like, for me, I'm like, why not? Why can't it be me? And if I'm not talking about it, then what's going to happen to these kids? What's going to happen if this is a conversation that never gets talked about? So that's kind of what I've been doing, is just taking one step each day, Lou. That's all I can do, right?
Being the host of the podcast program, what's it been like sitting on that side of the microphone? How has that been for you in what you've been learning, interacting with, and communicating? Has it been fun?
It's been the best. And I'm sure, Lou, you have this experience too, is the people that I get to meet and talk with. I'm so honored. It's amazing the stories that people share. One woman, she has a beauty brand, a beauty line that I got to talk to. And it all started because she was diagnosed with a brain tumor. And so I got to hear her whole story of how that brain tumor, she was in the accounting world. She was an accountant doing all sorts of CPA stuff and moving into creating her own beauty brand. So the stories that I get to hear, and it reminds me too of, hey, we can each do this every day. And courage doesn't have to look like these big, huge moments. Courage is also those in between small moments where I accidentally yell at my kids because I catch them fighting. And then I say, I'm so sorry that I just lost my temper. I was feeling frustrated. What can I do to make it right? So it's all these big and small moments for me.
So I love this. So the program is more than just the educator piece. It's about those that are taking it in their lives. They're really couraging up in the steps, very much like another program I know. Wait a minute. That's the one we're on. Those that thrive loud in their lives, their businesses, and their passions. Yes?
Yes. That was the best part, is that I got to kind of explore beyond the education space and just hear from everyone, because Lou, our lives are so intersected, whether you're in the business world, the beauty industry, the media, education, whatever. We all have moments of courage that we just need that extra boost. So I love hearing from all walks of life, and I'm learning so much through it.
I'm going to bring this almost full circle, because we mentioned that this is part of the Elevating the Brilliant Minds of Women Worldwide, which was kicked off in Clubhouse. And for those listeners who aren't yet on Clubhouse, or you have a phone that doesn't operate in that platform, Clubhouse is a phenomenal live audio social media app. And that's actually where we connected. I believe we were in a room together. And now I'm going to bring it full circle. Obviously, one of the original guests of Thrive Loud was none other than Angela Myers, who I'm sure you're familiar with, one of the more brilliant educators. Why is it Angela Myers needs to be on Courage Up, right? Because she is all about mattering, and that you matter, and that same philosophy of the classroom needs to be on your program. We got to get Angela on your program.
Oh my gosh. Yes. Okay.
Would you like me to make that happen? I'm letting all the listeners know that Angela, you listen to our program. You're going on the show. So that's going to happen. We're going to make that happen.
I was just on Clubhouse with her before I logged on to our interview, Lou.
Yeah, well, I would imagine, she's running that education space, and she's brought me up onto the stage every time we do it, because we believe that connecting matters and that you thrive when you do. So but by the way, we're going to make that happen. So that's really cool. I could see you guys speaking the same language. But I want to ask another question, which I know you know, because you've been like binge listening to Thrive Loud, which is awesome. And obviously, look, you've made this brave move to leave an industry, start your own thing, speak, consult, podcast, connect, and really help to take this thing about bringing that herd mentality, encouraging people up each and every day, which means you're thriving on most days. But obviously, like the days of when your twins are fighting with one another, or, you're a little off your game for whatever that might be, we sometimes have days where we don't quite thrive. On those days when you're off your game, Ming, what practice do you seek, or what individual do you seek out to get yourself back on the thriving track?
Lou, I have a mantra that I have to say, and it is, I am strong, I am courageous. And I love Stephen Pressfield's quote that says, don't prepare, begin. Ooh. And it's all about, like, when we are in our heads and we let our minds take over, and he's saying, eliminate that and just go. We have to eliminate fear's food source, which is time. And so if we just go for it. So that's what I do. I
like that. Fear's food source is time. Mm-hmm. That is spectacular. That's a really, really good one. I like that. We're putting that in the show notes. Somebody, producers, make sure you know that information. Okay. Great stuff here. Let's do the admin part of the show. Share with people all the places they can find Ming, where they can find your podcast, where the Courage Up stuff, your TED Talk. Give me all the URLs, all the locations, everything we need to know. We will put in the show notes, but it always gets more engagement when they hear it from you.
Thank you. All right. So I would love to connect with any and all of your listeners. You can find me at Ming Shelby, MingShelby.com. It has the show notes to the podcast, all of my social media. You can find me on LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram at Ming Shelby, keeping it real easy for you. You can find the Courage Up podcast on all podcast platforms like Spotify, Google, Apple, all the places. So come hit me up. I look forward to connecting. Oh, and the TEDx's, Lou. So you can search on just search TEDx Ming Shelby, and Build a Herd Mentality will be on there. And you can find Courageous Classrooms, Build Courage in the Classroom on TED Ed. So those are all searchable on YouTube, and they're also on the website. So thank you.
Spectacular. Ming Shelby, permission to go down Fun Street here on Thrive Loud.
Let's go.
Ming's been listening to the program. She knows where the show's going to go, but she has no idea what the answers are, which is actually interesting, which obviously shows she lives in the moment and she's taking her courageousness to a new level. First of all, share with the listeners, if you could, what movie did you share with me as your all-time favorite movie?
I shared my all-time favorite movie is When Harry Met Sally. Okay. But I actually have an update, Lou.
Oh, hold on. I need the update music. What is the update on that?
It is my favorite genre is rom-coms. So now it is To All the Boys I've Loved Before, because the central character is an Asian American woman. And I love how she's being featured in movies.
I'm going to ask this question on two fronts. First of all, why up until that genre moment? Why did When Harry Met Sally connect so much with you?
It was so funny.
Very simple. It is funny. It is good. Billy Crystal was brilliant in that movie. Although I'm a New Yorker at heart, so there's a lot of New York things in there that I love about that movie too, which is good.
And did you know Rob Reiner, the director, producer, his mom was in it?
Yep. I'll have what she's having.
Yes. I love that.
She's made a lot of that's actually a really good thing. A lot of directors have thrown their parents in movies. There are three, as you just mentioned, Rob Reiner most famously in that. Martin Scorsese has put his mother in many movies, but more specifically Goodfellas. She literally is cooking she's Joe Pesci's mom, and she's bringing them food, and it's a very famous scene. But there's another one, the late Gary Marshall did that movie New Year's Eve. You ever see that movie New Year's Eve?
Oh, is it with a bunch of different people?
A whole bunch of actors. Yeah, it's like all these overlapping movie stories. He loved those movies, and his mother was one of the women who worked in the hospital too. So a lot of people like to throw their moms in the shows, which is pretty cool.
I love that. I had no idea of those other ones, so thanks for telling me, Lou.
I mean, let's make it clear: if you're a director and you want to honor somebody, you're going to call your mom and get them in there. I mean,
for sure.
It's like guilt for life if you don't. So you have to. All right, so we're going to do the speed round here, Ming, and I want you to share with the listeners the first thing that comes to your mind. Most of these things are things that lift you up, make you feel good, motivate you, make you thrive. Mm-hmm. Ready to roll? Okay.
Let's go.
A song you love to hear or that pumps you up.
I Want to Dance with Somebody by Whitney Houston.
That's a good one. A favorite food that's not a dessert.
Pad Thai.
Favorite dessert.
Lemon bundt cake from Nothing Bundt Cake. No promotion there. Like, no.
Kind of like a promotion to me. An activity you wish you did more of.
Skiing.
Ooh, an activity you wish you did less of.
Ice skating. I just took my boys ice skating this weekend, and it was pretty disastrous. So I skate like once every 10 years. So.
Okay. So therefore you wouldn't have to worry about you doing too much of it. But I got it. A little bit of it is bad is enough, right? If I snap my fingers and you can go anywhere, Ming, where are you?
Right now, anywhere with the beach.
Oh, any beach in particular? Or one that you've never been to?
One that I've never been to. Someone just posted this beautiful Bora Bora resort where there's like the tents and the water and the huts. Yeah. And there's water inside the huts, and that looked magical.
I think there's someone who actually got stuck there when the whole world shut down right in COVID a little over a year ago, and they got stuck there. I thought about it.
I feel so bad for them.
I know. If there was ever a place to get stuck, as long as they didn't ring you for what it cost a night, I think you'd be okay.
Right.
Ming Shelby, truly an honor to connect with you here today. The Courage Up podcast, Build a Herd Mentality. Thank you so much for what you do. And thank you so much for coming on Thrive Loud.
Thank you so much for having me on Thrive Loud, Lou. It's been such an honor and such a joy talking to you. So thank you so much.
You got it. And to all our listeners out there, thank you for joining us. And until next time, keep thriving onward and upward. And remember, be brief, be bright, be gone.
Thanks for listening to this special episode of Thrive Loud with Lou Diamond, brought to you by Success.com and Thrive Loud. To learn more about this great program and elevating the brilliant minds of women, head on over to thriveloud.com or success.com. And make sure to follow Lou at Thrive Loud everywhere on social media to learn more about this special series. Thanks for listening.